The twin suns of Varelia had begun their slow descent, painting the sky in shades of orange and violet. Dust swirled around the rocky plains, creating a soft haze that made the horizon look like it was melting. Kale, a human explorer, adjusted the straps of his pack and checked the scanner on his wrist. The device beeped softly, indicating the presence of an unusual energy signature not far ahead. 4 months. Kale had been mapping the outer regions of Varelia, a planet known for its harsh terrain and hidden beauty. Humans had started exploring these distant worlds only a few decades ago, and Kale took pride in being one of the first to set foot where few others dared. Despite his young age, he had a reputation for calm thinking under pressure and an uncanny ability to find solutions when situations seemed impossible. As he moved closer to the energy signature, Kale noticed shapes on the horizon, sleek, metallic forms glinting in the fading sunlight. At first, he thought they were some kind of abandoned mining equipment, but as he approached, he realized they were not machines at all. The shapes shifted gracefully, and he could see figures moving with a fluid, almost regal elegance. Aliens, he murmured under his breath, keeping his voice low so as not to draw attention. Kale had encountered several alien species during his travels, but this group was unlike any he had seen before. They were tall, humanoid, with luminous skin that shimmered under the sun and eyes that reflected intelligence and curiosity. Their clothing seemed ceremonial, decorated with intricate patterns that hinted at both culture and power. Kale's scanner beeped more urgently, signaling that the energy signature was centered on one of the figures. She was smaller than the others, but something about her presence demanded attention. She moved with confidence, her head held high, and Kale could see a faint glow round her, a protective field, perhaps, or some form of advanced energy technology. Then, the moment came that would change everything. Without warning, a group of shadowy figures appeared from behind the nearby rock formations. They moved quickly, their weapons raised. Kale could feel the tension in the air. These were not explorers, and they did not come in peace. "Stay behind me," Kale whispered, though he wasn't sure if anyone would hear. He stepped forward, placing himself between the approaching threat and the alien group. His hand rested lightly on the sidearm at his hip, not with arrogance, but with quiet readiness. The leader of the alien group, who Kale now realized must be a Princess Stern to him. Her eyes widened in surprise, and then she spoke in a language he did not understand. Surprisingly, the translator embedded in Kale's wrist device worked perfectly, converting her words instantly into English. "Can you defend me, human?" she asked. Her voice was calm, but carried a subtle urgency, as if she were testing him, unsure whether she could trust this lone human in a world so different from her own. Kale hesitated for a fraction of a second. He had faced hostile creatures before, pirates, and even rogue AI drones, but nothing quite like this. These attackers moved with precision and coordination, and the princess, though regal and poised, was clearly in danger. "I can try," Kale said simply, his voice steady. "But we need to move." Before anyone could respond, the shadowy figures charged. Kale moved instinctively, sidestepping and using the rocky terrain for cover. He fired a few warning shots that forced the attackers to pause, giving the alien princess and her guards a chance to reposition. The mercenaries, if that's what they were, looked shocked at the humans' calm under pressure. "Follow me," Kale said, motioning toward a narrow canyon that offered some natural protection. The princess hesitated for only a moment, then nodded. Her guards, though reluctant, fell in step behind her, eyes darting nervously as they tried to keep up. Kale led them through the twisting canyon paths, using every bit of knowledge he had gained from months of exploration. The attackers were persistent, but he anticipated their movements, setting traps and taking advantage of natural choke points. Each time an assailant appeared, Kale moved with surprising speed, neutralizing threats before they could reach the group. The princess watched in astonishment. She had expected a human to be weak, perhaps clever in a few ways, but not capable of this kind of physical and tactical skill. Her assumptions about humans began to crumble with every move he made. Finally, they reached a small plateau that overlooked the surrounding plains. Kale crouched behind a boulder, peering over the edge. The attackers had paused, regrouping for another assault. He turned to the princess. "Stay low and don't make sudden movements," he whispered. "We're going to make them think we're more than we are." The princess nodded again, her confidence slowly returning. She had never seen a human act with such calm precision, nor had she imagined a human could command a small tactical advantage in a hostile situation. For the first time, she felt a strange mixture of relief and curiosity. Kale scanned the attackers, calculating their numbers and movements. He noticed patterns small but consistent that revealed their strategy. With a deep breath, he stood up, stepping into view, and called out loudly in a commanding voice. "Over here!" The attackers turned, eyes narrowing, assuming they had found an easy target. Kale was prepared. He dodged their first strike, rolled, and used his momentum to push one of them into the canyon wall. The sound of metal striking stone echoed through the air. The princess gasped softly, realizing that Kale's strength was not just physical, but also mental. He seemed to anticipate every move before it happened. As the attackers regrouped, Kale turned back to the princess. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice calm but serious. She nodded, though she could not hide the astonishment in her eyes. I did not know humans could be like this," she admitted, her words tinged with disbelief. Kale smiled faintly, a hint of pride mixed with humility. "You'd be surprised what we can do when we need to." For a moment, the canyon was silent except for the distant shouts of the attackers. Kale and the princess shared a brief, unspoken understanding. He would protect her, not out of duty, but because it was the right thing to do. And she, for the first time, realized that humans might be far more capable than she or her people had ever imagined. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the canyon floor. Kale motioned for the princess to follow him again, this time leading them toward a hidden path that would allow them to escape the immediate threat. She moved with grace, trusting him more than she had ever trusted anyone outside her own species. As they walked, Kale could hear the faint hum of her protective energy field. It was strong, but he could also see its limits. The attackers would not give up easily. He needed a plan, and he needed it fast. The princess, sensing his thoughts, asked quietly, "How are you so? Ready for this?" Kale looked at her, eyes steady and unwavering. "Humans survive because we adapt," he said simply. "We learn quickly, and we fight when we must. That's all it is." She considered his words carefully, realizing that there was more to humans than her history books and interstellar rumors had ever suggested. Perhaps they were underestimated, yes, but not for long. The canyon twisted ahead, and Kale's mind raced with possibilities. He knew this was only the beginning. The attackers would return, and when they did, the stakes would be higher. But he was ready, and now the princess had a human at her side who could stand against almost anything. For the first time, Alira, the young alien princess, felt a spark of hope. And for the first time, Kale realized that humans might have a role in shaping the future of worlds far beyond their own. The sun disappeared behind the jagged horizon, leaving only a sky full of stars. The canyon was quiet for now, but both Kale and the princess knew that danger was never far away. And in that silence, a new bond began to form, one that could change the way the species saw each other forever. The canyon had quieted after the initial skirmish, leaving Kale and Princess Alira alone for a brief moment. The shadowy figures had retreated into the distance, but Kale knew it was only a temporary pause. The attackers were organized, and they would come back stronger, perhaps with reinforcements. Alira studied the human carefully. Her initial astonishment had not faded. If anything, it had grown. He moved with ease and confidence, scanning the terrain, analyzing every rock and slope as though it were a tool he could use. Her guards whispered among themselves, casting uneasy glances at Kale. They were proud warriors, trained in both combat and diplomacy. Yet none had ever seen a human behave this way. "Why do you fight like this?" Alira asked quietly, her voice soft but curious. "You are only one, and they are many. You should be afraid." Kale looked at her calmly. "Fear is natural," he said, "but it doesn't control me. I focus on what I can do, not what I cannot." She tilted her head, intrigued. Her translator made his words clear, but she still felt the weight behind them, the confidence, the quiet certainty that humans carried even in dangerous situations. For the next few minutes, they walked along the canyon path. Alira stayed close behind Kel, her guards flanking them on either side. The landscape opened to a wide, flat area where the sun cast long shadows across jagged rocks and sand dunes. Kale stopped and gestured toward a small plateau ahead. "Wait here," he said. "I want to see something first." Alira obeyed, though she was confused. Kale stepped forward alone, and the princess's eyes widened as he began moving through the area with surprising speed. He leapt over boulders, ducked under rocky overhangs, and used the terrain to conceal his movements. In moments, he had crossed the plateau as if he had been walking through his own home. The princess gasped softly. She had expected humans to be clumsy, weak, and slow compared to her people. Instead, she saw a creature who combined intelligence, agility, and adaptability in ways her training had never prepared her for. Kale returned to Alira, breathing lightly but with no visible strain. "Not all humans are strong physically," he explained, "but we find ways to use what we have. Strategy, speed, and timing can be more powerful than raw strength." Alira looked at him with a mixture of admiration and disbelief. "You are unlike anything I imagined." Kale smiled faintly, shrugging. "I'm just someone who keeps trying." Her curiosity deepened. She had spent her life among the elite of the Alari, learning combat, diplomacy, and leadership. She had faced simulations, trained with the best warriors, and yet she had never encountered someone like this human. In a quiet voice, almost to herself, she said, "I should test you." "Properly?" Kale raised an eyebrow. "Test me?" "Yes," she said firmly, "a duel. Not to harm, but to measure skill. My people respect strength, not threats. If you can keep up, I will know whether you are truly capable of protecting me." Kale considered this. Humans had a saying, "Actions speak louder than words." He nodded. "Very well, but understand, I do not seek to challenge you for pride. I will defend, but I will not strike unless necessary." Alira's eyes sparkled with a mixture of amusement and seriousness. She had not expected the human to agree, yet he did so with no hesitation. "Good. Let this be a test of skill, then." They moved to a flat clearing where the duel would take place. Her guards stepped back, unsure whether to intervene, but Alira waved them off. "This is not a fight to harm," she said. "It is a test of strength and mind. Observe, but do not interfere." Kale took a deep breath. Though he appeared calm, he was aware of every detail: the wind, the uneven ground, and the subtle shifts in Alira's stance. He had no formal training like her people, but he relied on instinct, observation, and adaptability. The duel began slowly. Alira moved first, her strikes precise and controlled. Kale dodged easily, relying on timing and anticipation rather than brute force. She was fast, her energy field enhancing her reflexes, but Kale's movements were unpredictable, using angles and feints she had not anticipated. Her eyes widened with every counter. Humans, she realized, were not bound by the rigid patterns her people followed. They improvised, adapted, and thought creatively. Kale's small size, which initially seemed a disadvantage, allowed him to move in ways she could not predict. Minutes passed, and sweat began to form on Alira's brow. Yet Kale remained steady, his breathing controlled, his movements fluid. She struck harder, faster, trying to test his limits, but each time, he responded with precision and calm, barely exerting himself. Finally, she stopped. Her chest heaving slightly, she looked at him with awe. "I underestimated you," she admitted. "I thought humans would be fragile, weak, but your strength is different. I have never seen anything like this." Kale smiled faintly. "Strength comes in many forms. Not all of it is physical. Sometimes, the mind is stronger than the body." Alira's respect grew. Her people valued power and technique, but she now realized that humans had something deeper: creativity, adaptability, and the ability to think under pressure. She had always assumed they were primitive compared to advanced alien civilizations. That assumption was gone, perhaps. You can truly protect me, she said softly, almost to herself. Kale nodded. I will do my best. That is all I can promise. For the first time, Alira felt a strange sense of relief. She had spent years surrounded by guards, generals, and advisors, yet she had never felt truly safe. But with this human beside her, she sensed something different. Not just physical strength, but courage, intelligence, and a calm determination that could face any threat. The sound of distant movement reminded them both that danger was never far away. The attackers would return, and when they did, Kel's skills would be tested not just in a controlled duel, but in real combat. Alira realized that she had made a choice, one that went against tradition, but one that might save her life. Human, she said, her tone now serious and commanding. Teach me your ways. Not how to fight, but how to see the world as you do. Perhaps together, we can survive what comes next. Kale looked at her thoughtfully. Then we learn from each other, he said. You have knowledge and power I do not, and I have perspective and experience you may not expect. The canyon around them seemed to settle, the wind dying down as if the world itself was watching this unusual alliance form. Alira adjusted the straps of her ceremonial cloak, feeling the weight of both her duty and her curiosity. She had begun this day thinking of humans as simple, limited creatures. Now, she wondered if they might be something far greater. Kale surveyed the horizon. The shadows of the attackers were faint but growing. He knew the next challenge would be harder. The duel had been a test of skill, but the real battle was yet to come. He would need every ounce of human ingenuity and courage to face it. And Alira, the young alien princess, would see firsthand what humans could achieve when they refused to be underestimated. As the sun set completely, leaving the canyon bathed in twilight, a quiet bond formed between the two. It was a bond built on mutual respect, curiosity, and a shared understanding that strength came in many forms. And in that moment, both realized that together, they might face even the most dangerous threats and emerge victorious. The stars began to shine above, scattered across the night sky. Kale and Alira stood side by side, ready for whatever would come next, both aware that the universe was far larger and more dangerous than either had imagined, but also full of possibilities. And for the first time, Alira believed that a human could not only defend her, but might also change the way her people saw the galaxy forever. Night had fully settled over the canyon, and a blanket of stars sparkled in the sky. The air was cooler now, carrying the faint scent of minerals and dust from the rocky terrain. Kale and Princess Alira had made camp on a small plateau, using natural rock formations for cover. The princess's guards kept watch, but their confidence had been shaken by Kel's calm handling of the earlier attacks. Kale inspected his surroundings, scanning for any movement. His senses were sharp, trained by years of exploration and survival in unpredictable environments. He noticed subtle shadows shifting in the distance, signs that the attackers had not given up. They were circling, waiting for the right moment to strike. Kale, Alira said softly, her voice barely above a whisper, do you think they will come back tonight? He nodded. Yes, they will try again, and this time they will be more organized. We have to be ready. Alira's hands tightened around the edge of her cloak. She was used to commanding armies and giving orders, but she had never faced a situation where her own safety depended on a single human. The thought was unsettling, yet she felt a strange confidence knowing Kale was by her side. Kale turned to her and smiled reassuringly. Stay calm and trust the plan. We will handle them. Ours passed quietly, but the tension never left the plateau. Kale took careful note of the terrain, narrow paths, high rocks, and hidden dips that could be used for ambushes. He positioned Alira and her guards strategically, placing them where they could defend effectively while remaining protected. The attackers would not know what awaited them. Then, without warning, the night erupted with movement. Dozens of shadowy figures surged forward from the edges of the plateau, armed with weapons that glinted under the starlight. The attackers had come prepared, and their intent was clear. They meant to capture the princess at any cost. Kale stepped forward, his posture calm but commanding. Hold your ground, he shouted to the princess's guards. We fight smart, not hard. Wait for my signal. The attackers spread out, trying to encircle them. Kale had anticipated this. He had chosen the plateau for its natural choke points, and now those features worked to his advantage. He led the first wave into traps he had imagined earlier, rocks that could be toppled to block paths, narrow ledges forcing the attackers to slow, and hidden dips where they could be caught off balance despite their numbers. The attackers faltered. Kale moved quickly, striking with precision. He did not use brute force alone. He leveraged momentum, timing, and angles to unbalance enemies twice his size. His movements were unpredictable, and the attackers soon realized that they were facing not a weak human, but someone they had underestimated. Eli Ra watched in awe. Her guards had never seen anyone handle so many attackers alone, let alone someone from a species they had dismissed as weak. Kale's calm presence and quick thinking were more effective than any of their strategies. Human, she said under her breath, "You are extraordinary." Kale glanced at her but did not stop fighting. "Keep focused," he replied. "Watch and learn. It may help you survive." The attackers regrouped, this time using more coordinated strikes. Kale anticipated this too, shifting positions, using the terrain, and drawing them into areas where their numbers became a disadvantage. Every move he made showcased not just strength, but intelligence and adaptability, the kind of qualities that had allowed humans to survive and thrive on hostile worlds for centuries. One of the attackers managed to breach the outer defense, sprinting toward Alira with a weapon raised. Kale reacted instantly. With a quick sprint and a calculated leap, he intercepted the attacker, using the environment to his advantage. The enemy was thrown off balance and disarmed, while Kale remained steady and unscathed. Alira's eyes widened as she saw him neutralize danger without hesitation. Without anger, just skill and focus. "Impressive," she muttered, almost to herself. "I cannot believe this human can do this." Kale caught a glimpse of her expression and gave a faint smile. "I told you, princess. We survived by adapting." The attackers continued their assault, but Kale's strategy was relentless. He funneled them into narrow paths, used their momentum against them, and employed every trick he had learned from surviving harsh terrains and hostile encounters. The canyon echoed with the sound of rocks tumbling, shouts, and the occasional clash of weapons, but Kale moved like water, flowing through the chaos with precision. The princess's guards were inspired by his actions. They had doubted him at first, but now they saw the truth. A human could not only survive, but could lead and protect with unmatched skill. Some began to follow Kale's movements, mimicking his positioning, anticipating the attackers' next steps. Hours seemed to pass in minutes. The attackers were becoming frustrated, their coordinated assault failing repeatedly. Kale, despite the fatigue in his muscles, remained alert and calculated. He knew the battle would end when he forced them to retreat, not when he exhausted himself finally. With a combination of strategy, courage, and sharp observation, Kale drove the attackers into a final trap. They found themselves trapped between a steep rock wall and a sudden drop, unable to advance or retreat without risk. Kale's team, now coordinated and confident, closed in. One by one, the attackers surrendered or fled. Realizing they had underestimated their human opponent, Alira exhaled, relief washing over her. The immediate threat had been neutralized, thanks to this extraordinary human who had turned the tide with intelligence and courage. Kale approached her, brushing dust from his clothing. "Are you all right?" he asked. She nodded, still in awe. I am. Thanks to you." She paused, searching for the words. "I had no idea humans could be so capable. Not just strong, but clever, fearless, and quick to adapt. You are unlike anything I imagined." Kale smiled faintly. "We do what we must. That's all. You asked me to defend you, and I intend to keep that promise." Alira's expression softened. She had spent her life surrounded by highly trained guards, military strategies, and advanced technology, yet none of it had prepared her for the combination of strength, intelligence, and composure she had witnessed in Kale. For the first time, she saw humans not as a lesser species, but as equals, perhaps even more capable in some ways than her own people, her guards, who had once doubted Kale. now looked at him with respect and curiosity. They exchanged glances, realizing that humans were not to be underestimated. Kale had proven that courage, quick thinking, and determination could overcome obstacles that raw strength alone could not. Alira stepped closer to Kale. "You have changed the way I see your people," she admitted. "Perhaps we should rethink what we know about humans." Kale shrugged modestly. "We are not perfect," he said, "but we survive. And when we are needed, we fight not out of anger, but because it is right." The canyon was quiet once again, save for the gentle rustle of the night wind. Stars glittered above, casting soft light over the plateau. Kale and Alira stood together, surveying the battlefield. Though the attackers had been defeated, Kale knew the larger threat was far from gone. Others might come, stronger and more determined. "Tonight, you have shown courage beyond expectation," Alira said quietly, "but I sense this is only the beginning. Our enemies will not give up so easily." Kale nodded, already thinking ahead. "Then we prepare. We learn. We adapt. That is how humans survive, and it is how we will protect you." Alira studied him for a long moment, understanding the depth of his words. She had seen bravery before, but this was different. This was not just physical courage, it was the courage of mind, of strategy, and of heart. She realized that Kel's strength was not just in his body, but in his ability to remain calm under pressure, to think clearly when others panicked, and to lead even in the darkest moments. For the first time, she felt a genuine sense of safety, not just because he could fight, but because he could anticipate, adapt, and protect. In Kale, she saw the potential for something greater than any army, any technology, or any strategy her people had ever relied upon. The plateau was quiet now, but both knew that peace was temporary. Yet in that moment, a new trust had formed. Alira no longer saw Kale as merely a human, but as a partner, a protector, and a symbol of what her people had underestimated. As the stars shone brightly above, Kale and Alira prepared for the next steps. The galaxy was dangerous, full of threats, but together they had proven that courage, intelligence, and adaptability could overcome even the most formidable challenges. And for the first time, Alira truly believed that a human could stand not just beside her, but above expectations and perhaps even change the course of the galaxy. The first rays of dawn stretched over the canyon, painting the rocky walls in soft hues of gold and pink. Kale stood at the edge of the plateau, looking down at the quiet plains below. The night's battle had ended in their favor, but the adrenaline lingered, and his mind was already analyzing the next steps. The attackers had retreated, but they were only the first wave. More danger could arrive at any moment. Princess Alira approached silently, her steps careful on the uneven ground. Her guards followed behind, alert but calmer than before. Alira herself looked different. Her composure had returned, but there was a new glint in her eyes, a mixture of respect and curiosity. "Kale," she began, her voice soft, "last night, I saw something I never expected. You did more than defend us. You controlled the battlefield, anticipated their every move." She paused, searching for the right words. "I underestimated humans. I see now that you are far more capable than I imagined." Kale turned to her with a modest smile. "Humans survive by adapting. We face challenges and find solutions, even when others doubt us. That's all." Alira studied him, her expression thoughtful. "It is more than that. It is not just skill. It is courage, patience, clarity of mind. You do not panic. You do not hesitate. You are calm when others would be afraid. I have never seen anything like it." Kale felt a warmth in his chest, not from pride, but from the acknowledgement. Praise from Alira was rare and measured. He nodded. "I've learned to stay calm because panic never helps. You act with focus, and focus wins battles." Alira's gaze drifted to the horizon, where the first morning wind stirred the dust in soft waves. "I spent my life training with my people, learning combat, strategy, diplomacy. And yet I see that there is something humans possess that my people lack. Perhaps adaptability, as you said. A kind of thinking that is not bound by tradition." Kale nodded thoughtfully. "Every species has strengths. Yours is technology, knowledge, planning. Ours is flexibility and resilience. Together, we can complement each other. The princess let out a soft laugh, a sound Kale had not heard before. It was not forced or ceremonial, but genuine. You speak as though we are equals, she said. And perhaps we are, at least in certain ways. For a long moment, they stood in silence, watching the canyon below. The night's battle had proven Kel's abilities, but it had also begun to bridge a gap between two very different worlds. Alira had learned to see humans not as fragile creatures, but as resourceful, courageous, and unpredictable allies. And Kale had learned to appreciate the wisdom and poise of a species far advanced in knowledge and strategy. Finally, Alira spoke again. Kale, I want to understand your people better. I want to learn how you think, how you survive, how you turn the impossible into reality. Teach me. Perhaps we can prepare for the challenges ahead together. Kale considered her request. Humans were known to cooperate and learn quickly, but he had rarely been asked to teach someone so highly trained. Yet the opportunity intrigued him. I will teach you what I can, he said, and you will teach me what I cannot know on my own. We learn best from each other. The princess smiled, a mix of excitement and seriousness. Agreed. Let this be the start of something new. The guards observed the exchange with quiet respect. They had doubted Kale before, but now it was clear that he was not only strong and capable, but also wise in ways that surpassed mere combat. They began to see him as more than a human. They saw him as a strategist, a leader, and a symbol of the potential of his species. Over the next few hours, Kale demonstrated practical techniques that had kept humans alive on harsh worlds. He showed how to use terrain to one's advantage, how to anticipate movements, and how to think quickly when plans fail. Alira watched intently, asking questions and testing her own reflexes. She had trained her whole life in combat, but Kel's methods were different, less formal, more instinctive, yet surprisingly effective. You see, Kale explained as they crouched behind a rock, observing the canyon. Sometimes it is not about fighting harder, but fighting smarter. Position, timing, and understanding your opponent's expectations can win battles without brute force. Alira nodded, absorbing every word. It is unusual. Your people think in ways my people never would. And yet, it works. You are clever, Kale. He smiled faintly. We have to be clever. The universe is not forgiving. By midday, they had moved to a higher plateau where they could safely observe the surrounding region. Kale taught Alira techniques for assessing risk, spotting ambushes, and managing limited resources. Each lesson was practical, grounded in reality, and delivered with patience. Alira realized that while her own training had emphasized discipline and precision, Kale's approach emphasized flexibility and adaptation. Together, they were learning from each other. Kale, she said finally, I see why humans survive where others fail. You are not just strong, you are persistent, creative, and able to turn even weakness into advantage. That is remarkable. Kale shrugged. It is what we do. When faced with danger, we keep going. We adjust. We find a way. Alira studied him closely. You are not boastful, yet you carry confidence that cannot be taught. It comes from experience, from surviving when others might not. Kale met her gaze steadily. Experience teaches lessons that no book can. We learn by doing, by failing, by surviving. The princess took a deep breath. She had spent years surrounded by advisors, generals, and scholars. Yet Kale's presence made her realize that there was knowledge and strength in humans that her people had dismissed for too long. And in that realization, she felt a shift in new respect, not just for Kale, but for the potential of humanity as a whole. As the afternoon sun warmed the canyon, they began discussing strategies for the future. Kale proposed using terrain to their advantage, setting traps, and coordinating with Alira's guards in ways that combined human instinct with alien technology. Alira listened, contributing her own insights from years of tactical training. Together, they began to form plans for both defense and diplomacy. Understanding that survival required more than brute strength, it required trust, cooperation, and ingenuity. Alira's respect for Kale grew with each passing moment. I had thought humans were fragile, limited, and predictable, she said quietly. But I see now that we were wrong. You are extraordinary, Kale. Not just for what you can do, but for how you think, how you remain calm, and how you inspire others. Kale smiled faintly, humbled. We all have potential. Sometimes it takes the right challenge to show it. Alira nodded, her expression thoughtful. Perhaps our people need to rethink what we know about humans. If your species can achieve this, imagine what else is possible when we work together. Kale's gaze swept the canyon below. Then we start now. Learn from each other. Prepare for what is coming. We can face any challenge if we trust each other and adapt together. The sun began to sink toward the horizon again, casting long shadows across the plateau. The warmth of the day faded, replaced by the cool night air. Yet neither Kale nor Alira felt fear. They had faced danger together, and in doing so, had discovered a new bond of mutual respect, trust, and understanding. Eli Ra looked at Kale, a faint smile on her lips. You have changed the way I see not just humans, but the universe itself. I no longer believe we are the only capable beings here. Perhaps humans are exactly what we need to survive and thrive. Kale met her gaze, his expression steady. And perhaps we need each other. You have knowledge, strategy, and technology that I do not. Together, we can face the galaxy's challenges stronger than either of us alone. As the stars began to shine above, a quiet peace settled over the plateau. The battle had been won, but more importantly, understanding had been achieved. Kale and Alira had discovered that strength came in many forms, not just physical, but mental, emotional, and strategic. And in that realization, a partnership was born, one that could shape the future of both their species. The night stretched on, but neither spoke of sleep. Instead, they planned, observed, and shared knowledge. Alira tested herself against Kale's lessons, discovering new abilities within her own mind and body. Kale, in turn, absorbed her wisdom, learning how alien technology and tactics could enhance his own human ingenuity. By dawn, a new understanding had formed between them. They were no longer teacher and student, nor just protector in charge. They were partners, equals in their determination to face what the galaxy might throw at them next. And in that partnership, Alira found a confidence she had never felt before, a belief that humans, with their courage and adaptability, could not only survive but thrive alongside her people. The stars faded as the twin suns of Aurelia rose again, signaling a new day. Kale and Alira stood side by side, looking out over the canyon, ready for whatever challenges awaited them. And for the first time, both knew that together, they could face anything and that humanity's potential was far greater than anyone had ever imagined. The twin suns of Aurelia were just rising over the horizon, casting pale golden light over the canyon where Kale and Princess Alira had spent the night. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of dust and stone, and a sense of calm had settled over the plateau. But both knew that calm was only temporary. The attackers from the previous nights had not disappeared, they had merely retreated. Gathering strength for a final assault, Kale stood at the edge of the plateau, scanning the surrounding terrain. His mind was sharp, calculating possibilities and planning contingencies. He had survived countless dangerous situations before, but this was different. Alira was not just someone he needed to protect, she was now an ally, a partner, and a symbol of human potential in the galaxy. Alira approached, her cloak fluttering in the morning wind. Her expression was serious, yet calm, a reflection of the trust that had grown between them. Kale, she said, today may be the most dangerous challenge we face. I am ready to follow your lead. Kale nodded. Then we moved together. Strategy first, strength second. We will not waste our energy. We will use every advantage the terrain and our minds can give us. The princess's guards flanked them, more confident now after witnessing Kale's skill and adaptability. They had seen a human confront overwhelming odds and emerge victorious not through luck, but through intelligence, courage, and precision. Their respect for Kale had grown, and they now moved as a coordinated team under his guidance. Hours passed as they prepared. Kale showed them how to position themselves on the plateau, using natural cover and hidden paths to funnel attackers into controlled areas. Alira contributed her knowledge of alien technology, creating energy barriers and traps that complemented Kel's strategy. Together, human ingenuity and alien innovation formed a defense unlike any enemy had encountered. The first sign of movement came just before noon. Shadows shifted on the distant plains as the attackers advanced, their numbers larger than before. Kale signaled to Alira and her guards, and the group took their positions. Every rock, every crevice, every elevation change was now a tool in their strategy. Kale moved quickly, placing energy markers and guiding the guards to their designated spots. His calm voice carried over the wind, "Remember, patience and focus. Let them come to us. Do not fight recklessly. Use their momentum against them." The attackers surged forward, confident that they could overwhelm the small group on the plateau. But Kale had anticipated their tactics. As they reached the first choke point, hidden barriers activated, slowing them down and forcing them into narrow paths where their numbers became a disadvantage. Kale struck quickly, using his speed and agility to neutralize threats without exposing himself to unnecessary risk. Alira observed closely, impressed by Kale's precision. His movements were a combination of instinct, observation, and calculated risk qualities her people valued but rarely saw executed with such effectiveness. She adjusted the energy barriers, creating a controlled maze that funneled the attackers into positions where Kale could handle them. One by one, the first wave was defeated swiftly. The attackers, realizing they were facing a human who was more than capable, regrouped and changed tactics. Kale anticipated this as well, repositioning Alira and the guards, adapting the plan in real time. His mind moved faster than theirs, calculating probabilities and predicting actions with uncanny accuracy. One of the enemy leaders, larger and stronger than the rest, broke through a barrier and charged at Alira directly. Kale reacted instantly, intercepting the attacker with a swift maneuver. Using leverage, timing, and precise strikes, he disarmed the enemy and sent him tumbling backward. Unable to recover, Alira's eyes widened in amazement. Kale's strength was not just physical, but mental, tactical, and instinctive. "You truly are remarkable," she whispered. Almost to herself, Kale glanced at her, a faint smile on his lips. "Focus on your part, princess. We're not done yet." The attackers continued their assault, but each time, Kale was ready. He moved fluidly between positions, using the environment to his advantage, predicting enemy movements and coordinating the guards with hand signals and subtle cues. The once confident attackers grew frustrated, their cohesion breaking as Kale and Alira's combined strategy countered every advance. Hours passed in a tense dance of attack and defense. The sun climbed higher, but Kale never faltered. He used every skill he possessed: observation, strategy, timing, and human adaptability to maintain the advantage. Alira, inspired by his example, began to implement her own tactical adjustments, creating energy traps and reinforcing positions where Kel's human intuition suggested weakness. By late afternoon, the final wave of attackers had advanced. They were determined, but Kale was ready. He had anticipated this moment, and the entire battlefield had been prepared for it. Using a combination of human ingenuity and Alira's advanced technology, the attackers found themselves trapped, funneled into positions where their strength was useless against Kel's strategy. Kale moved with precision, taking down each enemy systematically. Alira assisted by controlling energy fields and directing the guards, creating an almost seamless collaboration between human skill and alien technology. The attackers had no choice but to retreat or surrender. When the final enemy fell, the plateau fell silent. Dust rose from the ground, and the sun cast long shadows over the battlefield. Kale and Alira stood together, surveying the aftermath. Their breathing was steady, their focus unwavering, but both felt a profound sense of accomplishment. "You did it," Alira said quietly. "Not just surviving. You led us to victory." Kale shook his head modestly. "We did it together. You and your people adapted, too. You made the difference with your technology and strategy. I guided, but you executed, Alira's eyes softened with admiration. I see now that humans are more than I ever imagined. You are not just strong, you are clever, courageous, and relentless. You are a force in ways my people had never considered. Kale looked out over the horizon, thinking of the countless dangers the galaxy held. We are capable of more than we realize. And when we work together, species can achieve things far beyond what either could alone. Alira nodded. Then let this be the beginning. We have proven what is possible. Humans and Alari together, we can face anything the galaxy throws at us. For the first time, the princess felt a deep sense of trust in a human. Kale had not only protected her, but had shown her the full potential of a species she had once dismissed. She realized that the galaxy was full of unknowns, and that humans, with their courage and ingenuity, could be invaluable allies. Kale, in turn, felt a growing respect for Alira. Her intelligence, strategic mind, and willingness to adapt had made victory possible. He had faced countless dangers, but this partnership, this combination of human skill and alien wisdom, had proven the value of cooperation across worlds. The suns of Relia dipped toward the horizon, casting a warm glow over the canyon. Alira and Kale stood side by side, looking at the stars beginning to appear in the darkening sky. They had faced danger, survived, and grown stronger together. You have changed my view of humans forever, Alira said softly. Not just as protectors, but as equals. Perhaps even more than that. You are a symbol of what your people can achieve. Kale smiled faintly. And you have shown me that even advanced civilizations can learn something from us. Together, we are stronger. Together, we survive. The stars above seemed brighter, more vivid, as if celebrating their victory. The canyon was quiet now, but both knew the universe held many more challenges. Yet with mutual respect, trust, and shared skill, they were ready for anything. Kale extended a hand to Alira. Shall we see what comes next? Alira took it, her grip firm and confident. Together, she said, and so, standing side by side, the human and the alien princess looked beyond the frontier of Varelia, ready to face new dangers, explore uncharted worlds, and redefine what it meant for humans to shine among the stars. They had proven that courage, intelligence, and adaptability could overcome any obstacle, and that when humans and aliens worked together, the possibilities were limitless. The galaxy awaited, full of mysteries, challenges, and opportunities. And with Kale and Alira united, humanity's potential had been revealed not just as survivors, but as true partners in shaping the future of worlds beyond their own.